Imagine these are the upper echelon of the organization as it relates to sales. So these 25 people get together on a monthly basis, and we put together an agenda, some of the challenges and obstacles that the organization is facing at that period of time. And we go through and we put together some actions. We break the organization up into small committees, and we solicit help from the rest of the organization, and we publish notes and really share information across the entire group. So I think it's really paid off. People feel empowered to be part of the organization and the decision making that's taking place. The other thing that I would, I mean, bottom line is I think this is number one. If you don't have executive sponsorship, you'll never transform an organization to where you want to be. We created a PMO with the CEO sponsorship all the way down. And without that, we would never have been successful. ESSN, for example, is leading the charge within HP. We're 15% growth year over year. And that's pretty incredible. When if you broke out our organization, we would be about a Fortune 70 company. So you can imagine the numbers that we're talking about. Another individual that's really helped is a guy by the name of Tony Geary. Tony is somebody that we called upon to not train our individual contributors, but to train our senior executives. A lot of the folks that lead the sales organization have been through his training, and it's somebody that I would recommend. You know, if you're looking for some executive type coaching, he's really good. He's helped us really clarify really what we're trying to accomplish. I don't know about your companies, but I mean, it's gone crazy with email in our company, and I know I'm understating it. You know, nobody seems to want to pick up the phone anymore. So he's helped us actually limit that, believe it or not. He's actually done a lot of work with our senior leadership around focusing and really driving meetings more efficiently. You know, instead of the sake of just getting together and having meetings, he's really helped us you know, clarify what are we trying to accomplish, and then come out with action items that, you know, can help us be more productive. So another guy that I would highly recommend. In terms of managing, and really what we're talking about is developing a culture of accountability, we utilize a system internally that now generates and I'll use the term performance warnings, but they're letters that go out to the manager and individual contributor. And it's based on a scorecard that we run on a monthly basis. And we measure 5 specific financial metrics. Those 5 metrics either are red, green, yellow, and you know, obviously we have certain thresholds that determine those colors. But what we do is we send letters out to those individuals on a monthly basis. If they get a red or a yellow in any one of those metrics, they have to put together a plan on how they're going to improve on those metrics. And you know, if another month goes by, they get another letter, and then 3 strikes, you're out. So one of the things that we're trying to do is really drive accountability, and we've done this in some of the other companies I've worked for, and it's worked out very well. So strongly recommend driving accountability through formal processes, and make sure that it's coming directly from the data that really you're measuring and running your organization on. Another individual that I've called upon to help is a guy by the name of David Knorr. David is based out of Atlanta. One of the things that I think most people kind of, I hate to use it, but I'll use it, take for granted. Relationship selling is absolutely key to being successful. It's crazy when, I mean, within HP, you know, big company and everything, but people don't talk to each other. This guy could know the CIO, and we would never know that. So he's really kind of helped us with developing some methodologies that really turn relationships into a return on an investment and making money on them, right? I mean, you're talking about driving and leveraging relationships that people internally and externally have. He's also taught us a lot about social networking. How do we leverage LinkedIn, for example, and other social tools? So, you know, we've actually integrated some of his thoughts and teachings into our selling approach, and it's really worked out well. And lastly, rewarding. You know, Chris was talking about this before. You know, one of the things that I think has worked out very well, at least for HP, we run a trip every year. Last year was Hawaii. We're going somewhere, I think in the Bahamas this year. But we take the 5%, top 5% of the sales organization, and we select those 5% not based on quota attainment. It's not just quota attainment. Obviously, that's important. But we also leverage and balance, I should say, behavioral, quantitative, and qualitative type criteria. So when you look at the top 5% of our organization, it's not just the top 5% in attainment. It's also sales behaviors. You have to be recommended by a sales leader, which also needs to be approved and recommended by other sales leaders. And it has to be somebody that's well respected in the organization, because those are the people that are going to take you to the next level in your transformation. So I would highly recommend that it's not just factually based in terms of numbers, that you reward people. And again, I think as Chris was mentioning, it doesn't have to be a trip to Hawaii. And I mean, there's plenty of ways to reward you folks. An email from a CEO, you know, a vice president, a direct manager to the employee can sometimes really motivate an employee to do better than and raise their level of performance. So what's interesting I wanted to show here was the fish. I don't know if anybody's ever heard the read any books or heard any presentations from Don Tapscott, but you know, he's wrote books over the years around digital age, and one of the things that I saw him present was at one of our conferences was how people need to work together, and he showed the birds in the sky all moving together, and I figured I'd do it a little differently. I did it with the fish, but bottom line is, I think it's critical that you put together this methodology, you look at all those components I talked about, which really has worked out well for me and my experiences, and make sure that people are on the same wavelength. I mean, everybody's got to do it consistently together. You're only as good as the weakest link, and I know that's an old adage, but it's absolutely true. So you want to make sure that everybody's trained the same way. You want everybody working together in sync. I'll leave you with this story. I mean, one of the companies, and I'll leave the name of the company out, I joined the sales organization as a sales manager back then, and my first day on the job, I figured I'd impress my manager, and I was on a management call, and I said, I was listening, and they're talking about, you know, how salespeople actually think the quotas are too high. Has anybody ever heard that before? Right? So my question was, how many people actually attained their quota last year? And the answer was 32%. 32% of the entire sales organization actually made their number. So I kind of scratched my head, and I asked the follow-up question. I said, could you tell me what the attrition rate of the sales organization is? And they kind of paused, and I could almost hear them beating their chest, and they're saying, we have the lowest attrition rate in the industry. Think about that. So I wasn't a math major, right? But 68% of the people in this organization aren't making their numbers. So you can imagine the fact that you got not only the wrong people in the organization, because they're not leaving, right? They're not leaving, they're fat and happy about the money they're making. They just want the quotas lowered, but they're still going to stick around. At the same time, there is no accountability in the organization. So, you know, it's absolutely critical you think about those components that I talked about, and bring that all together. I think that's going to really help in transforming any sales organization.